I'm Dana with Forestar, and on this video we're going to discuss components of an insurance policy. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is ACV. This is something you've probably heard someone talking about. You may not know what it really means. ACV stands for actual cash value. What this means is, this means the actual value of the property or the roof at the time of loss, after it's depreciated. Every different type of roof has a different lifespan. And Xactimate says that. For example, a metal roof is 100 years. So if we know a metal roof is 100 years and you find a building that has a roof that's 30 years old, that roof has been depreciated by 30 years. 30 years out of a lifetime of 100 years is 30%. So whatever they pay for that roof to be replaced, it will be depreciated by 30%. If you received $100,000 for that roof, but it was depreciated by 30%, then you would now have $70,000 to do that roof. In metal roofing, it's usually not a huge issue, but in other types of roof, it can easily be, depending on what the lifespan of that product is. Jonathan can be an excellent reference to contact when you have an ACV policy to find out what the lifespan of that product is. This is not something you necessarily need to walk away from. However, you do need to ask more questions. RCV. This is the type of policy we prefer. This is replacement value. That means that they owe the insured for like, kind, and quality replacement. It's not depreciated. Now, one thing that we typically do is a retrofit of an existing roof. Say, for example, we find a metal roof. What are we replacing it with? Like, kind, and quality. So the insurance company will pay to replace that metal roof. Instead, we do a retrofit, add insulation, and cover it with a membrane roof. Why is this acceptable? It's acceptable because the PVC roof is actually an upgrade from the existing roof. We know this because we warranty our roofs, first of all. Why is a PVC roof an upgrade? Well, first of all, we warranty our own roofs. On a metal roof, for example, you have thousands of screws exposed. Every screw is a penetration potential leak point. On our roofs, the fasteners are all covered. It's a seamless roof, so there's less likelihood of a leak. Further, cosmetic waivers do not apply to our PVC roofs. If hail damage occurs and it crushes the insulation underneath our PVC roof, that insulation cannot come in contact with the PVC, otherwise the plasticizers leach out. Therefore, no damage is going to be ever considered cosmetic. It's clearly functional. These are the reasons that ours is an upgrade. Another thing you'll come across that I touched on, cosmetic waiver. Cosmetic waivers are usually listed on the declaration page of the policy. However, sometimes they can be slipped in and hidden in the body of the policy. It's important to look for them, especially on metal roofs. They're very common with some carriers on metal roofs. What a cosmetic waiver does is it says if hail damage is simply cosmetic damage, then it's not covered. Now, we know that all hail damage is functional. We know that it destroys that protective coating on the metal. We know that it causes problems on the underside of the metal. We know that it leads to air, water, and rust. But the insurance carriers don't always agree. So that's what a cosmetic waiver is. There are ways to go around them. 2.5-inch hail by Hague standards voids a cosmetic waiver, as well as open seams. But that's something to look for in the policy. We have another video for further information about cosmetic waivers. Ordinance of law. You'll sometimes hear this referred to as code upgrades. What this means is there is an endorsement. There's an endorsement in the policy that's usually got a maximum dollar amount. And what it says is, anytime that this roof or part of the building needs to be replaced, the codes have probably changed since that was constructed. So this is a dollar amount to help offset that increase in cost based off code requirements. Percent deductible. This is a term that means that the deductible is not a set amount, it will be a percentage of the total insured building. So as you're looking through the policy, you look for the biggest number. It's basically the value of the building or what the building is valued at to be insured for. And your deductible will be a percentage of that, usually 1 or 2%. Make sure when you're looking through the policy that you're not looking at the liability policy, that you're looking at the building property policy. Ordinance of law. This is an endorsement in the policy. Sometimes it's listed on the declaration page, sometimes it's buried within the policy. What it is if a part of the building needs to be repaired or replaced, the cost of that repair to bring it up to code or up to the current building standards has probably increased. Code has probably changed since it was constructed. So this endorsement is supposed to offset that gap between what it should cost and what we're going to have to put into it to bring it up to code. There's usually a dollar amount limit, and this is sometimes in the better policies. Let me give you an example. We use this most often on flat roofs because of insulation. So an example of that would be, say we have a 200 square building with a flat roof. We need to add 3.5 inches of ISO in order to bring that building up to code for our value, maybe slope, percentage, whatever. That's going to cost us $400 a square. If you've got a 200 square building, you're talking about $80,000, okay? But you've got a $50,000 maximum on your ordinance of law coverage. What that means is that you need 80,000, you've got 50, so you've got a $30,000 deficit, right? It's going to cost the customer, or us, an additional $30,000 to bring that building up to code. Well, guess what? They also have a $25,000 deductible. Customer suffers one loss with the deductible. They can't suffer 2 losses. So therefore, this number offsets this. So now it helps to wipe out your deductible. We use this mostly in flat roofs with regards to ISO. If you're needing to know what the current IBC codes are adopted for your area, you can simply call the permitting office for that jurisdiction. They should be able to tell you what the adopted code year is. And from there, if you're not familiar with it, you can't look it up online, talk to your manager, or call Jonathan. Okay, percent deductible. This occurs sometimes as the deductible instead of a set amount. What this means is your deductible will be a percentage of the total insured building. Make sure you're not looking at the liability policy. Make sure you're looking at the building property policy. And and you'll look for the largest number. So, as a rule of thumb, most commercial buildings, as a general blanket rule, you want to consider them to be about $100 a square foot. That means if you have a 20,000 square foot building, that building will probably be valued at $2 million. If that's the case, and you have a 2% deductible, 2% of $2 million is $40,000. So that will be your deductible. If your deductible is 1%, you're going to have $20,000 as your deductible. One other thing I need to say about cosmetic waivers. Cosmetic waivers are a headache. There are Hague standards around them, such as 2.5-inch hail, open seams. But cosmetic waivers sometimes will be specific to roof surfaces only. That's common. So, say you go to a building, maybe it's a storage building, and it's beat to death on the doors, on the walls, but it has a cosmetic waiver in place for the roof. Maybe you don't have 2.5-inch hail. Maybe you don't have open seams. What you do have is collateral damage. And sometimes that can be enough to get enough money from the insurance company to be able to replace their roof, which is what they're needing in the first place.